query. Now, how long will you take that? How long will you put that? Will you take to put that into your source control somewhere? Now, I would clearly give it at least 2 or 3 days, but we practically manage that in a minute's time. So it's built on things like dry in itself. For instance, Grails does not really try to reinvent the wheel. When it really thought about the GORM, for instance, it's like Hibernate is already an ORM, and it works on a lot of databases. So rather than really thinking about, okay, I'll try and write something for my active record and I'll start my databases from here, it's all clean. What it just did is import the Hibernate libraries, just like Java libraries you do, create plugins around it, and then syntax sugar on top of that, and voila, it's an active record pattern in front of you. We can do a lot of things with it. What it really brings to the table is supreme developer productivity in terms of really coding through a full application with smart touch screens in no time. Now, it's just a vision to really say that, okay, you would produce your features faster, you will hit your finish line faster, thereby you reduce time to market. Now, this was just a slide that I put in just to show what we did in the first video. We talked about convention over configuration and Grails doing a lot of magic underneath. These are the kind of folders that it kind of generates, like the Grails app that you actually saw. It produces the controllers, the domain, the views, etc. It enforces a strict separation of model views and controllers. It already generates them, and then whatever you generated for your controllers, your domain, they've been packaged inside these folders. Now your web app is expanded out with those CSS and images, and those UI that you saw was, I wouldn't say a slick UI, but it's a very decent UI with certain logos and placeholders for you to really template it out and change it. So when you look at the structure, it's a very organized project. So conventionally, if you want to have a service, it goes into that service folders. So you should really have reasons to change these to really have another structure for it. Now, we already talked about in the first slide, we had a pointer for reduced total cost of ownership. Now, how do we really bring about that? The main aspect is it enables, it's like you just got 2 gas cylinders behind you and you're on nitrous, and the kind of applications that you build in probably that 5 or 6 minutes of time can really amaze you in terms of it's actually enterprise ready. You're ready to change your Hibernate dialects, put it on MySQL, and then it's almost saving in a remote database somewhere. Now that's something which is in 1 minute. That's probably the fastest it can get. So you're not looking at a 30 seconds cut screen. Now it reduces development of let's say if you want to have your Rails application talking to, for instance, you want to publish over a JMS topic for that matter. So you want to talk to a messaging bus, or you want to secure your web application with ACLs in the form of Spring Security or Shiro for that matter. So where do you start? The point is, Grails has such a rich set of plugins that we already have solutions for all this. So what you just do is to really go on the command line or probably on your IDE to really say that, okay, I need these plugins installed, and then the solutions which tried and tested over time, and the configuration possibilities are just for you to put these classes back inside your configuration and say, okay, I want to create my, for instance, if you were to really do the security, you want to secure an application with Spring Security, you'll just go mention your security users and profiles and profile to role map, etc. inside your configuration. And that's about it. You're ready to use your ACLs to really restrict your URLs. And that's something like the video I just showed you back, and that probably happens in another minute's time. You have a full secure application working probably in 5 or 6 minutes time. So faster development leading to faster delivery of features, lesser dev, lesser dev per project, more manageable, lesser days per project, more manageable unit, lesser rework, and that's how lesser maintenance. Probably that's how reduce total cost of ownership. Now, let's look at Rails in a different way. We've talked about scale almost endlessly when it actually came back to dynamic languages, because they're meant to be slower than your Java or C#. So what is it? Will it really scale? Will it really scale? Will it stand the test of time? We're talking about 200 users log into your system. That's what my estimated user base was. Now, I know this thing got really popular more than it was supposed to, and we have sweet trouble in the form of more and more user community coming back into your application. Now that's some trouble that you would really like to have, but does it really support all this? Now the good news is Grails does not really compile back into a .rails or a .rails blah blah. It really goes out and compiles back into classes which really run on the JVM. So the deployment artifact in itself is a var which can be deployed on any other container, just like your Tomcat servlet container. So whatever scale solutions that fit for the JVM, fit for Java as such, can fit for Grails too. So, and there are not many cases wherein you would find Java lack in scale, lack in support for scale. Now, many of us would really, want to really go into this in detail and really say that, okay, I want to really check it in a little bit more detail. How easy is to really start off threads? How easy is it to really have some concurrency going in, and what is the performance like for Grails or Groovy for that matter? Now the big news is it is built on the JDK library. So whatever you can use with the JDK libraries, you can use all of them inside Grails, inside Groovy. So your thread support, it's well justified. You can use it inside Groovy. Now what about the concurrency? Now many of us would have heard about GPAR, which is more like a multi-core concurrency framework which works effectively with Groovy, and it's one of the most preferred. It's kind of like a very popular framework. It's even catching on in popularity. So the needs for the performance and concurrency are already addressed. What about caching? What kind of cachings can you actually think about? HTTP caching, then you have things that you can do with EH cache. Then you have probably thought about, okay, when it comes to real scale, I would really need big memory stored in somewhere, probably my session stores expanding. Now Grails has answers to all this in form of, for example, you have session stores in the form of memcache or Redis, or even session stores backed by databases, which are just a plugin away and a command away installing. This graph that you see in front of us is just a comparison between ROR and Grails running on Tomcat, with 10 threads for its connectors and then the default for Grails. You can see that the response timings are way down lesser for Groovy and Grails. Now this graph is hot debate right now. It's one of the things which are available in Groovy and Grails. So there's considerable write-up on what has gone into this testing. So I'll leave you at that. Controversies on site. So does it really have a big learning curve? So most of the times when you're adopting new technology, you're just where you've invested a lot of time in, probably, let's say if your regular development line is Java, then you're just wondering if, okay, will my programmers have to learn extra? Do they really have to learn something new, totally new, that concepts have to be broken and then they'll have to relearn this again, or is it like totally new for them? Now the best part about that is, okay, you can adopt Groovy and then you can write it Java. The Java class is compiled back in your Groovy compiler. So whatever is Java can be compiled over Groovy, and then intermixing Groovy with Java, it's it was designed to develop, it was made to work like that. So the familiarity in syntax is something that will get a Java developer started on it right away. One of the things which JRuby or Ruby really misses out on, considering you're a Java shop. So the next part is, like, let's say if you are a fresher or if you are somebody quite new to programming, having your conventions defined, your templates defined, you would rather have them working on Rails with command line interfaces to generate the controllers, because you've defined your conventions, you've modified them in terms of templates or whatever, and then whatever you have in front is not changeable, is configurable, and it requires knowledge to change it, yes, but a person who's new to programming could even start and be more productive than a regular one who's not. So we talk about the greeting or whatever we generated in the video first. It had a name associated with it. Now that typing in and thinking about that business part of, okay, I want to design my greeting with a name, could have been done by a normal person who's just been explained that. And then if he's, into Java, he'll probably put in a semicolon up there, and then he'll get started. The creation of the scaffolding, creation of the views, it's left to Grails. So mostly you'll have people producing code, producing standard code, because you've moved out all your boilerplate inside the framework that's called Grails. Now, it is possible for you to tweak your templates and then do some customizations. That's another part of the story. Now, what we went ahead and then did a comparison with, some of the normal things, some of the frameworks and some of the dynamic languages that we have. We spoke about the reduced time to market, then the total cost of ownership, the scalability part of it, and the learning curve. Now, the only part where we think, the learning curve for, let's say if you're coming from a Java shop, then if you want to move on to Groovy on Grails, I think there is a bigger learning curve. Whereas if you're on Groovy and Grails, it's practically Java. So there's not much that you're really changing here to really move ahead. Okay. Now, most of us, if you're convinced about, yes, Groovy and Grails, let's say if it's working on JVM, it improves my confidence in believing whatever I see in front of me. We would all talk about, yes, okay, but is there any caveat there? As in, I'm pretty much sure there's something in there that we would really have to tweak. The answer is yes, and then we should not be hiding away from the fact. What really changes? And what I thought was to really put together some thoughts that comes to everyone's mind when you're talking about, okay, we're moving to new things, so let's find out what it requires to really, get this thing into production. For instance, we talk about the application servers, the web servers, etc., which is going to host this application, load balance it. We're talking about runtime environments. We're talking about hardware requirements. Okay, deployed, yes, but does it fit to the regular scaling needs? Do my operations team really do they have to really learn something new to really deploy this thing because it's a new kid on the block? Is it really stable? My development team, can they really produce what they need to produce in the first month? Or is it aligned to my SDLC methodology that I follow back inside my enterprise? Or is it, am I ready to deliver with this thing straight away? Or what goes into the maintenance of this project? Endless questions. Now, rather than speaking about a lot of things, I thought, okay,